Deborah, with her 30 years of being an entrepreneur and creating over 7 companies, knows exactly what it means to accept the mission. When you make that decision, when you accept the mission to become a solopreneur, to take yourself and your talents to market, then you embrace a life of not only unlimited possibilities, but also the unknown. It's an elixir of fear and bravery that only someone who's taken the leap really understands. On our show, Deb digs deep with her guests to highlight what you, the listener, wants to know. The stories, the whys, and the hows to navigate the journey to success. Get ready to hear from some of the most incredible mission takers from Generation Z to Boomers. So sit up, perk up, and get ready to be blown away. Now here is your host, Deborah Drummond.
Hello and welcome back to Mission Accepted podcast. And we are excited today, as we are always excited today. And mostly we have the most incredible guests, but we're super excited that you are joining us today because what I know is what I know. And this is what I know. I know that if you're here today or someone sent this to you or you stumbled across us or you're a dedicated follower, you're going to lean in today because there's something that you're here for. There's something for us to give. That's how it works. And there's something for you to receive. And the cool thing about this show, Mission Accepted, is that we talk to people that know what it's like to take the mission, whether they got pushed into it or they pushed someone else into it or whatever it is, or it was this divine download in the middle of the night that they had to do in their life. But we know what it's like to be aligned, and we know what it's like to hear things that maybe other people don't hear, or the book falls off the shelf, or something happens, or someone calls, or a business card falls off a desk, or all those kind of really cool things that give us signs that we are making the right decision. And so maybe today we're that sign for you. So welcome to Mission Accepted. And I would like to introduce you. I love this. Well, we've been chatting. This woman's amazing. And this is Amanda May. If you do not know who she is, or you are listening to us and not viewing us today, but she is going to talk about something pretty cool about how the beauty boss turns CEO. And I want to do a big shout out to all of you out there who are our CEO listeners today, meaning that you are your chief everything officer.
I love that.
Right? The key role of a true entrepreneur is being the CEO. So maybe you want to change your name to founder. I'm not sure, but maybe not after listening to Amanda today. So Amanda, thank you so much for making time to come on to Mission Accepted today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. So you know what we do on this show. On this show, we talk about the fun and then the fun about being an entrepreneur. And what might be fun to some can be interesting to others. So we're very verbiage cautious here, right? We're like, we're not busy people, we're abundant people. So look, obviously, just in your title alone, it talks about how you came into an industry. It was the beauty industry, and kind of how you rocked that industry. But you've done everything in one sector, and you made that decision from one step to the other. I know your story, but our listeners don't. Maybe you can take us a little bit on a journey on how you became the beauty boss, meaning you really, hold presence and have presence in that sector, as well as you started off with, hey, maybe I'll do my own ... Right? So maybe share with us a little bit about that.
I love it. So it's 20 years this year. At the beginning of this year was 20 years in beauty. Yes. So 20 years in, I'm here. And yet I'm just getting started. And that's the biggest thing. It's like really being dedicated to the beauty industry for so long and recognizing that it does take time. And that's okay. And the journey along the way, I have just had to say yes over and over and over when things come my way, even if I don't understand it, or I'm just like, I have no idea how this is going to work or fit in, but I know I'm going to learn or gain or connect with people that I need to connect with, that it will turn out exactly as I'm dreaming it to be. And so, so 20 years this year.
Wow. I mean, I love what you said about it's 20 years in and you're just getting started. That's kind of something that I say when people ask me to describe what Ayurveda is, which is a form of medicine from India. I think you probably know what it is. And I'm like, the Ayurveda is the more you study, the less you know. And I think that what happens is exactly what you just said in entrepreneurship is the more you get in, the more you trust that who you need to know and what you need to know will show up. And the journey can turn left or turn right at any time. But look, it takes a lot to be able to be, one, in a sector for 20 years, and two, to stay dedicated to that. There had to have been some interesting times where you felt like you were on the right path, and maybe some times where that was questioned. I'm not sure. I don't know your whole story, but to stay in a sector like that, what would you say was the one thing that kept you driven to that sector? Because people can be entrepreneurs and they can vary off in different ways, but what is it about the beauty industry that you love so much?
For sure. I think with any industry, it's not just the beauty industry, it's the why behind it. Why are you doing it in the first place? Because when I really connected with why and my reason for being so driven in the beauty space personally, and then wanting to share that with others, that was the biggest commitment. And it was to myself. And that's the thing. It was like, I was committed to sharing so much about beauty, and it's grown and developed over the years. My why has continued to stay the same, but morph into bigger, cooler, different aspects. And so when I first started out in beauty, it was really an escape. I just didn't feel very worthy. I had been through some things in childhood that left me feeling like I just didn't have as much value. And one of the things that I was often told, aunts or people, oh, you're so pretty, or your skin is so nice, or what, whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's where I can get my value. And so I started wearing makeup, and I started making sure that I looked good. And, that outside affirmation filled a space in my soul that felt very empty. And so when I started to do personal development work and recognize this, I'm like, I know I'm not the only woman feeling this way. And so when I started to really bridge the gap between inner and outer beauty, that's where my why landed. It was like sharing beauty because I love the artistic, expressive, creative side of it, but then also being able to share the message of who you are is what makes you beautiful. And when you have both, it's this authentic beauty that's so unique to every individual woman that it's like, that became my why. Having women tap into who they are and their value and worth because of who is inside this soul, this being that's existing on this planet right now. And then also enhancing natural beauty. And so it was like, when women had both, you walk different. There's confidence. There's this knowingness of who you are that I'm like, I want every woman to have that. And so that was really when I connected with that. It's like, that's what kept me in the industry as long as I have been. And then I saw these stories transform women's lives, and people were sharing the impact that because I was a part of their journey, they were experiencing. And I'm just like, this is my heart. I want this for every woman. So that's what keeps me in it. That's my push.
No, that's a powerful push. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for being transparent. And I don't think you're wrong when you say that a lot of women can relate and identify to that, right? That there's many things that can make you feel devalued inside. And I think that there's been a disconnect in the beauty industry. And just hearing you talk about that elegant relationship between the inner and the outer, because sometimes when you say the beauty industry to some people, they're like, oh, makeup. And they don't see it going past skin deep, right? And then some people, the beauty industry, they talk about it like, creativity. You talk to a makeup artist and it's like, oh, it's just very creative and it's expressive. And then you've got the natural beauty and all of this aspect of what beauty means. and that it can actually accent who you feel inside and merge is really a new concept. I think as personal development has become, and we've started to realize there's people behind the makeup and people behind the screen and, actors and actresses and these people that were very much kind of pedestaled, getting really real, right? Really real. And that, I think that's a definitely is a powerful why. I don't think you can top that. So tell us when it's like Beauty Boss turns CEO. So there was a time where you were an individual practitioner. I know that. And then you went into opening and having studios and working with people. And you've been in the field, we say it, and in corporate, we say it, right? So kind of tell us where you are now and how you're living out that mission that you just talked about.
Yeah. And the interesting part is that's all been a part of the journey over the 2 decades, because there were ins and outs where it was like I was in the field doing beauty, whether it be skincare or makeup, even running, like I ran the makeup. I was makeup lead for Miami Swim Week and New York Fashion Week. So like big time into the makeup, traveling across the country, doing trainings. And then there was also this element of learning the business side, which is when I went on to be the manager at the salon at Caesar's Palace. So then there was like this, there's this whole business aspect that I was like tapped into being in there, where, I was expected, of course, to be at the board meetings with the president of Caesars Entertainment and all the C-suite executives. And I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, what does P&L stand for? I don't know, but I'm going to write this down and I'm going to go Google it and I'm going to figure it out. And it gave me a drive for, while I was in the beauty industry there as a leader, I still got to be with our clients and be with our team members and help to encourage their creativity. And so like that was really fun. And then I got to see people grow in their own development too, which opened up the door that there were other aspects of the beauty industry I hadn't tapped into yet. So I learned about vendor relationships and I learned about wholesale opportunities and sales and P&Ls and all the things. And so it's interesting. So I was in the field and then I'm leading and then I go back into the field and then I go into like, I need to open locations. So I start opening these locations and have a permanent makeup academy and advanced skincare. We did both and they did amazing. And it was because I had taken, I think at that point, 12 years of learning and traveling the country and courses and personal development and all the things I had learned both in the industry side and then from the leadership side, and started to really put those together. And so it was kind of like both. And then this year, really everything married together. And it was the perfect marriage between leadership and being on a C-suite, and then also having teams that are in the field with our clients, patients, and then also working behind the scenes on our e-com stuff. So, the journey, how I got there is not like this. It's like this. Like I think most entrepreneurs can say, especially when you've been doing it a long time, it's been a fun process because I've learned so much along the way. And so now being the CEO of Public Beauty, the brand, I get to take everything I know from being with clients on a normal basis to product and product development, to leading teams, to running a business, and I get to do it all in one place. And it just fills me up in a different way. And then the more I'm in this, the more I realize, oh my gosh, I need to learn about this and this and this. So many more things I have to know,
Yeah.
And so sometimes I look at like, okay, well, if I do it like this for the next 3 to 5 years, where am I going to be at then?
Mm-hmm.
And what level will I have grown to? Because I look at the last 20 and I think night and day. I mean, of course, like just starting out, but I don't think that stops, especially if you're passionate about growing and learning. Like, you don't just stop that. Like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's why I say I feel like I'm just getting started because I have so much more to know.
So thank you so much for that. I, one, agree with you. And two, it's interesting when you were like, and we became very successful after 12 years. And I think sometimes we forget to hear the 12 years part. And I think also when you talk about your journey, and the different things, I love when you said that you sat at a table and they were talking about P&L and you didn't know what that was. I remember when that first happened to me, I was having a meeting with my accountant. She's like, P&Ls and ledgers and, profit margin. And I remember having that, I don't know if it's an epiphany or an awakening, because I didn't do the MBA route either. I didn't go get an MBA and then decide a business that I wanted to do. I went into my business because it felt right and it came to me, and, I learned differently. But I think for those people that fall in love with an idea or a concept and they kind of go into business without knowing all of the things, that there's a time that comes in your business where knowing all of the things becomes really important. I know working with entrepreneurs, and I know that you do too, that there's that time where you need to know what numbers are. And there's that time where you need to understand forecasting. And there's that time where the fundamentals become very critical. I think you can run for a long time and sometimes you hit it, sometimes it's just the right place at the right time. But there still comes a time. I think about Tony Robbins, how he talked about how, he got bottomed out twice because he was the front man and he raised all this money. And then he had two financial experiences because he didn't understand the finances and he got bottomed out to nothing twice. So I think even just understanding as we go, and I love it because whenever you say that story, I think of Richard Branson. He's like, just say yes and figuring it out later.
Yes.
And I can just picture you going home on Google. What's a P&L, right?
Yes.
And, you got to make sure you put the right question into Google, because then you get things that are just more confusing. But I absolutely love that. So.
Well, I had a business coach. I mean, I've hired business coaches from the beginning because I knew there were things I didn't know. I knew I needed to know more. And so one of the things that one of my first business coaches told me was, don't say anything unless what you're going to say has value to the conversation. And so I would sit in those meetings and say nothing. Because I'm like, I'm here solely to absorb and learn. And, and then by the time the next meeting came around, I knew what they were talking about. And it's very similar now, like as I've grown into this new role and we're doing a lot of, we purchase other companies and there's like acquisitions, and I'm dealing a lot more on the investor side with conversations. And there are things that they have said in our conversations that I'm like, I have a whole page of like marketing. What do they call that when you break a word down into just a few letters? Anyway, that like it.
Shorthand?
Yeah, basically like
the
marketing shorthand terms, or like, the terms. I'm like,
terms.
I don't know what EBITDA means. I don't know what that means. And so I have to go home and I need to break it down and I need to study that. And I need to know which each one of those letters stands for and what it means, so that when I am engaged in conversation, I can bring value to what it is that they're talking about. That doesn't always happen in the second conversation, but usually a little bit down the road, I'm like, okay, I'm clear on where we're going with this conversation. And then, I can bring value to the team and some perspective that maybe they're not thinking about or nobody has mentioned yet. But it's like, it takes a great deal of determination to go home and study those things and then bring something of value to the conversation the next time.
No, absolutely. Instead of getting intimidated, instead of feeling in that meeting like you don't have value, you've actually been able to separate it. And it's not about your value or your contribution. It's just about understanding, and it's about finding a solution to that understanding, because I think that happens a lot. People sit in meetings and they think that everybody else understands, or they're in a presentation or what have you, and people are afraid to ask those questions. And so even though it may not be appropriate to ask the questions, or you think it's not appropriate, at least you're not personalizing it and thinking that there's something wrong with you. You're just going and finding out what that information is and bringing it to the table, that when you have time, or, when it's appropriate to bring it to the table. But it's a journey, like you said. And I got to wonder, I know that you've got a full life, right? You have things behind the screen, you have things going on, you have a full life. And I'm always talking to people about top performance. That's my forte. That's the area that I feel people want to be able to have, a higher yield of results or that kind of thing. So is there anything that you've done that you would consider are maybe top performance attributes that you've used, or things that you've been able to first of all, going and understanding is a big one of your business on the inside as a business. But is there things that you do to curb the clock, or to maximize your availability, or that you can share with us today?
I think it starts with when I began to learn myself. Who am I? And when it comes to being a top performer, you have to know who you are. And that started with me taking personal development courses. I think I started my first one in 2006, 2007. So it's been a long time. And hiring business coaches, which help you identify more of your why. But the personal development courses and the leadership training, it all went together, but it helped me connect with more of who I am. What are my core values that I am going to stand on as a woman? And how do I rate those things that come my way? Because I get opportunities that come my way, and I have to decipher, is this aligned with, one, who I am? Is it aligned with my core values that I operate in my personal life with? Is this something I can commit myself to fully and know that I am in 100% integrity with who I am and where I'm going? And so that awareness really came from the time alone with myself, journaling, being quiet, like allowing my spirit to show me, this is who you are, this is where you're going. But then also quieting the mind. Like, I think that was one of the biggest things. I feel like that was one of my biggest takeaways with personal development, quieting my mind enough to be able to feel what felt right, and then taking action on what felt right, or what felt aligned, to use another term. So top performing starts with being really clear on who you are.
Touche. I think there's a lot of wisdom in there. And I believe that we probably both, I'll just speak for myself, but I heard that many times in many different ways, and sometimes it landed and sometimes it didn't. My first introduction to quieting the mind was, when I started to study, my work was in holistic studies. So when I got introduced to the concept of meditation way back in the day, and that was, considered not so common anymore. Now you can go to, big business breakouts and you all meditate at lunchtime. But back then that was not what it was. Right. And it's interesting when you quiet the mind, the things that you hear. I also used journaling a lot to just kind of empty my mind. And then it left room and space for me to hear other things and watch to where it comes from. And like I said, the book that flies in front of you. But I think that's very accurate in terms. And when you are when I call running a multiplex, when you've got many different things that are going on in your life, it's easy to not have time to listen. So even making time to quieten your mind is almost as important of, putting it in your book for going to the dentist or the doctors or whatever you consider, really important for you to do, because there's a lot of really good advice in there. Okay. I know that we also talk on our show a lot to Gen Zs, this incredible new generation of those that are coming into the entrepreneurial world. There's, been, the statistics of people signing up for college and university has dropped. There's been a wave of young entrepreneurs coming in. It's interesting because in the market, they come with all sorts of different skills than maybe what we did at that time. And there's this really great blend, I feel, that's happening generationally between, hey, they might know something really incredible about technology. We know something really incredible about what it's like to shake someone's hand and give them your word. Like there's all sorts of different things that happen from all the different generations that are blending now. But if someone was stepping into entrepreneurship and now looking back, what would be some of the things that you would say are the most important things for them to note, or some advice coming into this fun land?
Yeah, that's an incredible question.
Yeah.
Through my 20s, I wanted it all right now. And if I didn't have it right now, I felt like I wasn't successful. I felt like I had to grind more, do more, be more, and stretch myself super thin because I wanted it so bad. And I felt like, why don't I have it yet? So patience, patience would be at the top of the list. But accepting it, it feels cliche because everybody says like, accept the journey, enjoy the journey. But to make that a bit more practical, spend time in your 20s really learning who you are and setting the foundation for what you want to build. Because those learnings, however that gets done, because that journey looks different for everybody. It could be books, it could be meditations, it could be courses, it could be a mentor. Just try as much as you can to find the things that speak to your soul so that you can learn who you are and build that solid foundation when you're in your 20s and life does have a little less pressure in it. and then it's like you've got this clear roadmap to build on, and then you're creating from a very intentional, deliberate place. And when you do that, it's like then you can start saying yes to everything that comes your way. And when you're talking, it's like you'll know immediately if something's aligned with you and if you should move that direction. But without that foundation and that roadmap, it's like, I think that's where entrepreneurs might get pulled. Well, I'm going to try this or I'm going to try that. And then the focus is off. And then they can get off track for a while and come back. I feel like what's meant for us is always in our spirit and comes back around. It's just how many detours we take.
Oh, well said, sister.
So just save from the many detours that could happen. Have a roadmap. Know where you're headed. And then that way, when the rubber meets the road, you can move quicker and you can be confident that you're moving in the direction that you should be moving. Mm-hmm. But then also stay flexible. I'm going to say that too, because there's a little bit of like, you want direction, but you want to leave enough space that God, source, higher self, whatever somebody identifies with, has room to move, not so rigid in your thinking, like it has to look like this, it has to go like this, and having that like oak tree mindset where an oak tree, that thing is not moving, but something more like a palm tree. The wind blows and it just sways. And it's like, just allow for those times to come in and be flexible with how you may manifest something that's even greater than what you think that you want or could possibly create. Because I look at where I'm at now and I know for sure where I'm now is me creating something magical, and where I'm going is going to be even more magical. And so I don't know exactly how that's going to go, but as a woman, it's like being fluid in the body and just like allowing, surrendering and allowing some things to just come to you. But when you have clarity on where you're going, the things that come to you, you'll feel if they're right. And you can tap into that femininity and go, okay, all right, let's try it. Yeah.
Very cool. Look, I know that we're wrapping up a little bit, and I want to make sure that people, first of all, know where to find you and how to find you. And obviously, we're going to have that in the show notes. And I have a final question for you, but is there anything that you want to share, like where to reach you? What is it that you're doing now that people want to tap into? Like, take this time to share that with us, please.
Yeah. I mean, my website is amandamaibeauty.com. You can find a lot on there. I just put out my first 4 strategies for shaping a life that you can thrive on. And so they're called the Beauty Boss strategies. And whether you're a beauty boss or just any woman, you can benefit from those things. They're personalized strategies. So it's like a workbook, journal, kind of introspective type of material. So you can find that on the website. And then also the couple other businesses that I'm involved in, you can find those things on the website. And then my Instagram is Amanda May Beauty Boss. And really that's personal. So if you want to know more about me personally, there's personal and also professional stuff on there. So that's probably the best way to go, because even on my Instagram, you can find my link tree, which leads to all the other business things that I'm involved with.
Awesome. And look, if you didn't know, Amanda May, and I know that my audience knows about the 262 project and the Stand Up, Speak Up and Show Up. Yes, you. And Amanda will be sharing and speaking on that project in March 2024, as well as she will be in the book. So you can find her there as well. And before I ask this last question, if any of you want to be sitting where Amanda is sitting and you have something to share, you know how to reach us. This is not difficult. It's deb@debdrummond.com. So I'm going to ask you a completely different question. And I know that you are going to be very busy and you are not going to be taking a vacation for a little while, Mama. Can we say that? But
we can.
Yeah, we can. But if you were on your way to a desert island and you had one suitcase and you were going by yourself and you were going to be chilling and putting an album in that suitcase for the rest of your days, what music album or song would you be taking with you?
Oh, wow. So
I know it's a tough one.
Can I like smuggle a couple?
No.
Man, I knew you were going to say that.
Let's get really clear and know our path. And as an oak tree, what album are you taking with you?
Wow. I really, oh goodness, it changes so much.
I know.
There are times I listen to like one thing and it's like crazy. I would say that, oh my goodness, you really got me. Okay. So, okay, I'll pick. So, I would say Beyonce, something with Beyonce, like Formation. Her Formation album is good. It's just strong. It's women, a lot of love, a lot of connecting with creating a boss lifestyle. But I think she's an amazing reflection of a feminine boss. And so, yeah. So I would say she would probably be my inspiration if I had to listen to the same thing over and over for a whole weekend. I could break down those lyrics and get some really good journal points out of that. So
I was gonna say maybe that's your next project. No, that's a great one. That's a great one. So we'll take that one today. I'm sure it's not going to be the only time that we're talking. So I'm just going to wrap up by saying thank you so much. And please, audience, we appreciate you so much. You are amazing. We are kicking off a whole new series. We're super excited. We're beginning to start that today. And we are heading, I know I never timestamp because you could be listening to this 5 years because we're really good at marketing back here. But we are entering a new year. It's a very exciting time. And it's that time where you get to refresh, restart, hit that button, clear out the cobwebs, make new decisions, find out who you are, like Amanda said, and get really clear on your path. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. And listeners, you know what to do. Share the show and send us back your comments. And so until then, stay well and be groovy, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.